As a commentary channel, the term criticism has been thrown around a lot, especially considering the fact that 90% of commentary is kind of pointing out the flaws in something. But I thought that it would be interesting if I were to make a video about criticism within itself, the good type and the bad type, the flaws in the content which people make when it comes to them making content on other people. And even though this video may or may not hurt someone's ego because I may or may not be referencing them directly, even though I'm not saying their name, I thought that it would be an interesting video to make a video on. So, let's get into it. Now, in my opinion, there's two types of criticism. There's good criticism and bad criticism, or constructive and destructive criticism, however you just want to say it. With good criticism, or constructive criticism, you can point out someone's flaws while telling them about how they can improve their content, while not necessarily bashing them. Yes, you can point out their flaws. Yes, you can point out the flaws in a general argument, just like how I said so in my video against people which are ranting against topic commentary. But still, I didn't necessarily bash anyone for their opinions on it, as I was necessarily neutral in the situation. But at the same time, there's examples of bad criticism, like when people just bash small commentary channels with no reason and don't give them any form of way to improve. Like Dr. Skipper's video on small commentary channels. Yes, he brought up a lot of good points, but at the same time, he never really gave a solution to the problems which he had with the channels. He never gave them any tips or advice, so he kind of just left everyone that was mentioned in the video in the dark about how they could improve upon their content. But that isn't necessarily to throw shade at him either, because the video was still pretty okay regardless. And I still feel like a good majority of his videos do well, but that's just a certain argument or just something I wanted to use as a example. But now I guess I should just continue on into more the bad idea or just the bad side of criticism. Now, when it comes to the bad side of criticism, I'm going to be using two people as an example because I feel like that would be easier for me, as I do not want to be sitting here all day talking about every single person which I disagree with on the internet. But the people I'm going to be using as for an example is Jaden and Communist Creeper. Now, I have no reason to really care about them, and I don't really like them in general, but I think my point should still stand. Whenever I see a video on these two individuals, they're always constantly bashed, with the same points over and over again. And the worst part about it is that people excuse those points or those reasons for bashing someone as just criticism. Now, I can agree, Jaden doesn't make good videos, neither does Communist Creeper. They have a lot of things to improve on, but there's only so many times where you could bash someone over the head with the same points over and over again and say that this person's the worst person ever, or that this person's the worst person ever, to where it eventually just becomes an echo chamber, and to where you fail to realize that by that point you're not even criticizing them anymore. You're just throwing the same arguments over at them again and again. And that you have to realize that sooner or later, these people have probably heard these criticisms at least 1,000,000 times, considering about how these videos are constantly pumped out and aren't made to actually critique someone, but are only meant to chase the bag. Which is actually kind of sad to see in this modern day and age of commentary. But at the end of the day, just to clear anyone's confusion in case someone might try and mistake what I'm saying, I'm not saying this to necessarily defend Jaden or Communist Creeper, as I don't like them. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can't defend criticism or claim that you're criticizing someone when all you're doing is bashing someone on top of the head with the same arguments over and over, or just bashing someone in general and claiming your arguments against someone to just be criticism. If I call you and your content shit and make 100 videos on you doing nothing more than the same thing again and again and again, by that point, I'm not criticizing you, I'm just plain hating you. And that's the problem nowadays. A lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people, or a large minority, claim to be criticizing someone when all they're doing is just blindly bashing on someone while using a few points which are pretty easy to make because they probably saw one video on them and applied that to everything else. I feel like criticism would be better if people stood for a more neutral standpoint and actually put some thought into what they were talking about, because that way criticism could actually be good and not just blindly bad. Now, I'm not gonna try and act like I'm perfect when I'm saying this, because I've done the same thing in the past where I just blindly hated on people and bring up the same points as everyone else. But I still feel like this point should be brought up when it comes to commentary in general, because sooner or later, many people are just going to copy this, especially with the small commentators being something which are almost very common nowadays, and I just feel like it would be a pretty important lesson to take in. At the end of the day, remember that there's two types of criticism, and it's better to point out someone's flaws while not necessarily bashing them, while at the same time giving them a way about how they can improve depending on the certain types of context. So that's all I had to say, folks. Mobile360 out, and I will see you in another video coming soon.